Since the first Cars movie hit theaters in June 2006, the premise of the movie has served as grounds for debate on the internet. The coveted Piston Cup competition, which drove the storyline of both Cars and Cars 3, has had many competitors throughout the years, with only a fraction being shown to us on screen during the movies. We have been lucky enough to witness many greats, such as Doc Hudson, McQueen, and more, along with numerous background racers, each with their own unique canon lore. Having so many racers, each with impressive accomplishments, has sparked controversy over which racer should be considered the greatest of all time. After careful consideration and research, I have decided who I think is the greatest Piston Cup racer of all time. Watch until the end to see my final decision. Keep in mind, I'm not taking into account fan-made information from the Pixar Cars wiki fandom, as it is not canon. Now, if we're considering greats, we can't put any background racers in that conversation because their careers were either too short or we don't know enough about them. This eliminates cars like Greg Candyman and Sage Vanderspin. They just don't have the accolades to make that debate. Now, some racers we have information on that gives them credibility, but I don't think it's nearly enough to qualify for GOAT status. Hall Ingus has one Canon Piston Cup, according to the Meet the Cars book, but that's not GOAT-worthy. Daryl Cartrip also has one Piston Cup, and after he retired, he became a great race announcer. Also a respectable career, but not GOAT-worthy. Both of them are eliminated from GOAT contention. Another racer to consider is Leroy Hemming, one of Doc Hudson's rivals. However, we just don't know enough facts about him aside from him being able to keep up with prime Doc. I think him getting flipped over on the last lap to lose does eliminate him as well from the GOAT debate. McQueen's friends from Cars 3 are also not quite enough to be considered in the GOAT debate. Bobby Swift was never seen winning on screen, although his description does state that he is known for squeezing past his opponents at the last moment to win a race. But he was struggling against a Sunset McQueen, and he was quickly replaced by a next-gen racer. Bobby Swift is eliminated from the GOAT debate. Cal Weathers was seen beating McQueen, which is definitely an accomplishment. However, you have to think that nepotism likely played a role in him getting a seat with Dinoco, and he is nowhere near the level of his uncle. Cal Weathers is also eliminated from the GOAT debate. Brick Yardley is another one of McQueen's friends who just doesn't make the cut. We don't see him win on screen, but we do hear that he had 2 wins in the year prior to him getting fired. Also, his Meet the Cars description states that he has beat McQueen on several occasions. However, this isn't enough to be considered the GOAT, so Brick Yardley is also eliminated from the GOAT debate. Now we are left with a small group of racers, all of which have main roles in the franchise. I think the racers to consider are Lightning McQueen, Strip Weathers, Chick Hicks, Jackson Storm, Cruz Ramirez, and Doc Hudson. The first of this group who can easily be eliminated is Chick Hicks. His only Piston Cup was fraudulent, as he had to wreck the king, and McQueen literally stopped before the line, giving him the win. Also, his whole career he was behind the king, and he was a super dirty racer. Chick Hicks is gone. Next, Cruz Ramirez is a very talented racer, but we sadly don't know much about her racing career. She managed to beat defending champion Jackson Storm to win the Florida 500 with only a fraction of the race remaining and while starting dead last. Also, in the credits, we can see she won another race at Copper Canyon Speedway. While this is very impressive, it does not qualify her to be considered the GOAT. Cruz is gone. Jackson Storm had possibly the most impressive rookie season of all time, winning many races in a row and the Piston Cup, leading the next-gen movement which changed racing forever. We can't forget how he got destroyed by Cruz in the Florida 500, though. We just don't know enough about his career to give him the GOAT title. Storm is gone. Doc had potential to be the GOAT before his tragic career-ending crash. 3 Piston Cups in a row showed total dominance during his era. However, we can't judge greatness by potential. He is probably the biggest what-if in Piston Cup history. Sadly, Doc is not the GOAT. Now we are left with 2 racers, McQueen and the King. Both had amazing careers, each with 7 Piston Cups. They met in 1 season only, McQueen's first and the King's last. The King's career lasted over 30 years, with him being presumably at the top of the standings for most of that time, as even in his last year, he was up there with McQueen and Chick competing for the Piston Cup. However, you must consider that even though he raced for 3 times as long as McQueen, he had the same amount of Piston Cups. McQueen was able to get 7 Piston Cups in 11 years. Now the question of who the GOAT is boils down to what you view as more important, longevity or dominance in a shorter era. I think McQueen is the GOAT because he was clearly the best racer of an era lasting over a decade. However, I understand an argument for the King as he was able to adapt and stay one of the best throughout different eras. Let me know your opinions on who the GOAT is in the comments below.